Good evening. What's going on there, guys? It is the Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this Wednesday evening, March 9th, 2022, about 6:57 p.m. California time here along the West Coast. Latest quake just coming into the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.0 earthquake just coming in right now into the South America region. Somewhat deep as well into the Peru-Chile Trench. Looks like about 94 kilometers for the depth of that earthquake there. It's seen a pretty good cluster of deep movement there in the last 24 hours. Let's go ahead and check out the latest quake activity here on the map here. Just wanted to start out here with the tremor activity map here along the Cascadia subduction zone, showing about 6 epicenters of tremor along the southern end of the Cascadia. You can see that right there on the map. Not a big deal, right? Definitely not a big deal. So things kind of tapering off, but we did see some subsequent earthquake activity upstream from the tremor area. Upstream meaning, well, not quite as deep, right? Getting these shallow, a little bit more shallower quakes here around the southern end of the Cascadia, 2.7 and 2.3 at 27 and 22 kilometers deep. That's about all we've seen, though, following all that movement there in the tremor department over the past 5 or 6 days there in the Southern California region, or in the Northern California region. Up north into the Pacific Northwest, a little swarm of activity in a 4 sequence there. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing significant, but there's a couple 4s or a couple 1s kicking up here in the area around the north of Seattle area, and it's pretty deep as well. One of these, a 1.1 kilometer or 1.1 magnitude earthquake at 56.1 kilometers, is some deep movement here outside of the Oak Harbor area. Looks like a couple specific fault zones up here in the region of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Looking over here around the rest of the west here, a little bit of activity into Idaho. Some looks like a couple 2s kicking up here around Stanley, Idaho, and a little bit of activity around the Cedar, Utah, stretching its way over into Nevada. We're kind of popping up here a little bit, right? North of Las Vegas and also around the Mina and Tonopah area. Seeing a little bit of swarming activity kick up. Nothing significant, just kind of filling in some quakes here, it looks like, with some 2s and some 1s over the last 24 hours. No major movement to report along the eastern crest of the Sierra Nevada. Ridgecrest area looks kind of typical there for some movement over the last 24. And Southern California, a little bit of spotty activity down here on the Pacific side of the plate boundary. Got a little earthquake activity around the Redlands area. 1.2 earthquake showing up within the last hour. And some other smaller quakes up and down the board of the Elsinore fault system and the San Jacinto fault zone. Some movement down here in the Salton Sea area. This is kind of an area we watch for significant swarming, because it is right at the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. This fault system right here, predicted to be the big one, right? Up to 8.1 magnitude earthquake here. When? Who knows? Nobody has that magic crystal ball in predicting an earthquake. It's just not possible. But we do look for swarms and whatnot, kind of a telltale sign of an increased activity around a specific plate boundary or fault zone. And today, got a little bit of activity kicking up here in the Salton Sea region. Nothing significant. Just looks like a 2.0, the largest in that sequence, followed up by a couple 1s in the area of the Salton Sea on the Brawley seismic zone, just south of the San Andreas fault zone here. What else we got here? Throughout Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Van Horn, Texas, 2.8. This one here is kind of way out there. A little bit south of Guadalupe Peak, 8.1 kilometers for that 2.8. Up through Oklahoma, Kansas region, no injection well quakes today. One earthquake this morning in the New Madrid zone near Manila, Arkansas. That one pretty deep, though. About 18.5 kilometers into the New Madrid zone. And a little bit of activity returning to the South Carolina region. Out around the, Elgin? South Carolina, Lugoff area. This area has seen a little bit of swarming. I think it's been a couple months now. Let me check the all magnitudes here and see if we pull up anything. No, Yeah, so it's been well over 30 days. This area did see a pretty good amount of swarming and earthquake activity back in January in this region here. No major quake, but the swarming was kicking up pretty good. So maybe could be getting back into that. We'll see. 2.2 there. 2.2, the latest quake in that area of South Carolina. Puerto Rico, what do we got going on out here in the Caribbean area? Morritos Trough. Puerto Rico Trench up here. One little earthquake on the west side, 3.6, and most of the activity confined here to the southwest edge of the Puerto Rico area. Over the last 24 hours on the map there from the USGS. Rest of the Caribbean looks pretty quiet there in terms of 4.0 and above. This earthquake out here in the Guatemala Basin, older earthquake from this morning, a 5.0, well off the coast of the Middle America Trench there. And we did have some activity kick up into the South America region. Of course, USGS not showing anything below the 4.0, but we definitely see it showing up on the Earthquake 3D globe. That would be the EMSC model, showing a pretty good amount of earthquake activity in the 3 range. Let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick so you guys can visualize here. Let's zoom in a little bit to the Pacific. And there we go. All this earthquake activity here in the 2 and 3 range over the last, looks like about the last day or so, into the Peru-Chile Trench kicking off there. Where's that 4.9? But yeah, seeing a pretty good swarm there in the central part of the South America region. Also up and down the Middle America Trench, seeing a large swarm of activity into the Mexico and the Guatemala region, it looks like. And some activity up here into the Gulf of California. I really wish that the USGS would show a little bit more on the terms of magnitudes on their maps. Australia is seeing some activity over here as well. A couple 2s on the lower south side. Let's go ahead and check out the rest of the USGS map here. Across the region, that looks pretty absent of activity, doesn't it? You think that the plates would stop, right? Or at least they stopped. But the EMSC model definitely shows the activity still continuing here throughout the Indonesia region. And a little bit of activity here, North Island, New Zealand. But overall, it looks like things have kind of tapered off here a little bit in this area of the Pacific Plate and the subduction zone here. But definitely ramping up over here in the in this area of the world. Let's see what we got here for anything above 4.0 that's noteworthy. Just a little scattered activity throughout the land here and right around the Taiwan area with a 5.2. Little movement south of Tokyo, Japan, a 4.0. This one pretty deep though, 346 kilometers into the Philippine Plate. Rest of the trench, Kuril-Kamchatka Trench up here north, very quiet. And the Aleutian Islands, been showing a little bit of activity over the last week or so within this region. Today it looks like 4.0, the largest in this quake activity here along the Aleutian Trench. Of course, got to remember the Fox Islands, all this area. A lot of volcanic activity within this region, but also a major player in subduction zone quakes. Very large quakes do tend to happen within this region. Just some spotty activity throughout the land up here around Denali and Anchorage area. A little bit of activity up here around the Fairbanks region as well. 3.3 way up here, kind of up here around the Arctic Circle area of Alaska. Let's check out the Canada map here real quick while we're kind of looking up here in the north part of the land. And what do we have? Let's check it out. Check it out. Little activity, right? That's pretty active here on this map of Canada. Let's go ahead and check it out here. Red circles there indicating the activity within the last day. So up here in BC area, got a 3.1 near the, what is that, Cluedo? Oh, man. I apologize if I slaughtered that, but please correct me if I did. BC area, 199 kilometers northeast of there. at a depth of 5 kilometers. Also some activity further south here. Same within the BC area, 2.0 at 5 kilometers near the Fort St. John area. And a little bit of activity here on the northern end of the Cascadia, just to the north of there. Seeing a little swarm of activity, 2.4. And it looks like a couple smaller ones. The latest quake, though, up here in the Alaska region of 3.4 at pretty shallow, 1 kilometer. Rest of Canada up here, very quiet. Look at that. Not a whole lot of new activity over the last day or so. Most of this activity over the last month. Let's see what else we got here. Yellowstone National Park. We'll check these folks out here at the super volcano. And not a whole lot of activity here to take note of. A little bit of scattered activity. It looks like here around the Lake Butte area and the Madison River region over here, showing some activity. Some of this here is just I'm not for sure what that is, but definitely some localized earthquake activity popping up there around Madison River and Maple Creek region. Let's see here what we got. What we got here in the borehole area. Looks like we're starting to get a return of some ice quakes here in the Lake Yellowstone area. See some of these spikes indicating the activity there. Let's see, we checked out the tremor map. Let's go ahead and check out the volcanic seismicity at a couple volcanoes throughout the Pacific Northwest. I know the USGS not showing anything, but I do kind of like to look at the seismographs. Kind of gives us a pretty good indication of what's going on out here. We'll see if this one's working here. The 3-component short period here around Mount Rainier in the state of Washington. And let's go back to the previous day. Maybe we can see something a little bit more readable in terms of volcanic activity, or at least seismic activity here in Washington. Stand by for a second here. Sometimes these things are super duper slow, let me tell you. Wow, what in the world is that? That is not anything I would like to decipher, because wow, that's way out of whack. Let's check out the little bit of activity here on this map. We'll see. Sometimes they overamp these things to where it's really out of whack here. Definitely some activity. Look at that. Anyone can definitely read that's a localized earthquake activity there at Mount Rainier. Some other smaller earthquake activity as well in the last 24 hours, it looks like. Very small quakes. Nothing major going on at those volcanoes. Let's go ahead and check out the Three Sisters area. Of course, the bulge of activity, right? Down here around the southwest area. Go ahead and see what's popping. I'm surprised I don't have anything kind of around the summit area as far as seismic activity, but hopefully they'll get to it, right? Go back to the previous day and kind of see what's going on here. Seismogram viewer, the husband. All right, wow, nothing. There's not a whole lot going on at all there. I can't really decipher anything in that. It just looks like static. Something you'd see on the old TV screens. I don't see any localized earthquake activity at all at the Three Sisters area in Oregon. Check out Mount St. Helens here while we're out on it. Of course, they did have a pretty good swarm of activity. Not recent. I guess it's been, well, over the last 2 weeks or so. I know there's a seismograph hidden in here. I've seen it numerous times. September lobe, Mount St. Helens. Definitely some activity kicking up here. Even on the map within the last couple hours, you can see the seismic activity ramping up here. These blue, red, black lines there on the map. I'm going to go back over the previous day and see what we got here. Oh yeah, there's definitely quite a bit. I'm wondering why they're not reporting on this activity. Because that is for sure seismic activity. Those are not roly-polies. traveling across the seismograph. Definitely some earthquake activity there at Mount St. Helens, but then again, maybe they don't want to cause any confusion or any type of fear, the fear mongering. Don't want to panic the public, but definitely some activity, folks. That's very readable in terms of seismic signatures there at Mount St. Helens. It's been ongoing for quite some time. We can go back even the previous day. I'm sure that's going to show us. Not much. Looks a little bit less active, but yesterday, for sure, quite a bit of seismic activity. There's a good 20 or 30 earthquakes there or so on the map, but the PNSN folks definitely not reporting that activity, nor is the USGS there. Last 2 days of activity looks like, maybe they filled that in, but there's definitely way more than what they're showing here on the map in the orange circles. That only looks like maybe 5 or 6. And the USGS, of course, up here on their all magnitudes map here from last 24 hours. Zip. Nada there at Mount St. Helens. So it is what it is. We can just, kind of look at the live data. Luckily for us, it's all public accessible. We can see the live data ourselves. And that's something cool to check out for sure. Let's zoom into the Pacific. Middle of the Pacific out here in the Big Island chain. Or the Big Island, looking at one earthquake out here, 1.8. Kind of out here around the Loihi Seamount, which has disappeared. Oh, there it is. Okay. I thought it completely vanished. 1.8, well north of there actually, about 31 kilometers. Of course, the cluster of quakes there. Very typical. Southeast region looks about 33 earthquakes or so within this area. A couple up here around the Kilauea and the Mauna Loa region, but no significant changes going on there with those volcanoes currently. Let's see, what else do we have? The USGS map making this thing look pretty dull, making the earthquake activity out here look pretty quiet. Let's go ahead and check out the solar weather department here. I know we got some activity kicking up, but nothing significant. Just got a pretty large sunspot, which is Earth side kind of facing us here. Man, did this thing jump? Because this thing was just like right over here earlier in the update. I wonder if those data. I'm guessing that the data was kind of old there on their previous update, but I could have swore it was a little bit more over to the west. Okay, anyway, activity looks pretty minimal, folks. 45% chance of a C flare from that massive sunspot right there, 2960. Because it's stable. The magnetic fields and whatnot are stable with that sunspot activity. M flare only at 10%, X flare down to 1. Not a whole lot of expected activity from that. It's a beautiful sunspot, but the dynamics there are just not set up for any type of... What just happened here? I'm trying to click on a different... There we go. I guess the dynamics right there are not set up for any type of flaring activity from that beautiful sunspot. Absolutely beautiful. Kind of wish I had a backyard telescope and, of course, a solar lens on it so I could see that myself. But definitely don't want to go pointing any of my normal cameras at it. I'll end up with a definite burn into my lens. That would not be good. So yeah, we'll see. Kind of see what happens here. Just kind of most of the sunspot activity kind of will be facing away from the Earth here in the coming days. 2965 is rotating around the bend, and that could be maybe a source of potential flaring here. A little bit more than what we're seeing here from 2960 in the coming days. So stay tuned, and we'll see what happens here. All right, folks, we're going to jump off here. Don't forget to check out the merch store for this channel. I'm going to provide a link to some newer items I added here on the store. A lot of folks love the weather chasing that we do here on the channel, and added some weather stuff. Look at the activity coming in here. Hold on a second here, folks. What do we got coming in here? We got Southern California rocking a little bit, and also Solomon Islands coming in with an earthquake right now. on the live seismographs. Not for sure how large they are, but definitely kind of kicking up there on the reading on the seismograph chart. So we'll see what it comes in. But anyway, yeah, definitely some weather stuff added into our shirts. I will add it onto the description here below in this video. So also for those that are watching this video, we are offering $10 off any merchandise here, and it's a pretty simple code, 10 off, 10 off, and that will get you $10 off any merchandise there in the Earthmaster store. So, all right, have a good night. Stay safe. We will chat you guys another time. Peace out, everyone.